So you may have heard about this, but if you haven't, that's what the purpose of this video is. So this is Nylon, or an article from Nylon, which I'd never heard of before about 2 days ago when this article first went everywhere. And it seems that it does seem to be a feminist media outlet for like fashion and that kind of stuff. But this article is absolutely awful, and you'll see what happens if you haven't heard about it yet. But the title is "The Guy Who Makes Those Cute Alien Comics Has Really Bad Opinions on Abortion." Now, I've seen these alien comics before. I've only seen them once or twice. I don't follow them regularly. I didn't know much about them, but I went through a few yesterday, just scrolled through a lot of those, and they're actually like quite hilarious. It's a very literalistic comedy where it just takes something and puts it in the most literal way, and that makes it hilarious because you're realizing, it's kind of ridiculous. As the example they put in the thumbnail of the article, the guy, for a Valentine's Day one, he drew a heart with an arrow through it, and he says he drew a vital organ being wounded, and hands up some flowers, and these flowers are also dying. So it's that kind of comedy where it's a very literal interpretation of everyday culture and just tradition and that kind of thing. So an everyday conversation. So it's some hilarious stuff. But apparently he had an opinion on abortion from 2017. So we'll go through the article here briefly. It's a very short article. But we should be more careful with what we're sharing. And now that I agree with. We should be careful about what we're sharing. Cartoonist Nathan Pyle, whose strange alien drawings you've definitely seen everywhere, was discovered to be anti-abortion today, which serves as a valuable reminder that you should know about the person whose content you're sharing, and that I partially agree with. I mean, if you enjoy some content and you share that stuff around, and it's some good content, okay, then I think that's pretty much it. This is rather interesting how I found out about this after I wrote my article that will be published on Friday about guilt by association, and how I think it seems so obvious that I can't believe people are actually that people actually believe it. But remember that if I share something by someone and that someone has an opinion on something else, has nothing to do with what I shared, that doesn't mean I endorse their opinion or that I condone their opinion or anything. Like, honestly, it just means that I like the content that they shared. It's weird because I see people say like retweets does not equal endorsements, and that. Duh. Like, I think that's obvious. I think any rational person can look at that and say, okay, if I retweet someone, it doesn't mean I agree with something they posted 9 years ago about something else. It just means I agree with the tweet, that kind of stuff. So I think that's just a good perspective to bring, and that leads into this whole thing about some people say separate art from the artist, but I think it's a greater thing of just separating the individual thing you endorse versus all of its connections. So it says Pyle shares his artwork on Instagram on an account called Nathan W. Pyle Strange Planet. I recommend you follow it. I do have an Instagram, but I don't really ever use it. So yeah, go do that, which boasts about 2 million followers, but he also has a personal Instagram account and Twitter, which reveals a lot more where he stands on important issues like a woman's right to choose. So note here that he has a business account for his comics, and he also has a personal account. So much like, well, actually, I don't have a personal anything. I have a personal Facebook, and that's about it. Everything else is for my social media, for this channel, that kind of thing. But this guy does separate, like, unlike a lot of the celebrities, he actually does separate his business content, like the content that he puts out as the Strange Planet comics, and his personal stuff. So I respect that. Just keep that in mind. Twitter user AnarchoPupGirl found a tweet that he posted back in 2017 in which he talked up the anti-abortion March for Life in a post about his former girlfriend. He shared a screenshot of a Facebook post that she had written, which thanked the courageous mothers who did not have abortions, and added, "When I think of the March for Life, I think of the life story of my girlfriend, Susan. I am thankful she was given the gift of life." So, for one, I find this interesting because who knows? I don't even know how strongly pro-life he is. At the very least, it's like, remember that this is a girlfriend, so at the very least, he's like, yeah, like he's supporting her in what she believes. So who knows what his actual, like, if he's really hardcore about it, or if he's just kind of like, yeah, like I lean pro-life. Who knows? But we know from here he posted this saying, like, yeah, he posted something nice that his girlfriend said about from like a religious perspective. And note the tweet is from April 8th. That this woman somehow found this, but remember, the actual tweet that he posted is from, I think we'll have it up here. This is the actual tweet, is from January 27, 2017. So back when it happened, no one really said anything. And for the last over 2 years, this hasn't been an issue. But for some reason, I kind of wonder if the Twitter algorithm just kind of popped this up for some reason, which I don't know why that would be. So it seems the more likely option is someone actually like was going through his tweets, like going back and trying to find his opinions on stuff, which makes me wonder, are these people just doing that regularly? Do they just pick someone random and just go through their tweets to see if they can find anything awful and take them down? Or were people going after him for another reason? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, he said this back in 2017, which I think there's a bit of a time buffer where it matters, where if I say something yesterday versus 2 years ago, again, even if I still believe it now, it's something where it's like just let it go after that period. Enough time has passed that we can kind of move on. But that's a bit of an argument. But I think the more important argument here is not only separating the art from the artist, but separating the politics, separating the personal beliefs of someone that created something, separating the personal beliefs of the creator from the object itself. So those Strange Planet comics, I didn't know what his political opinions were when I scrolled through them. I liked some of them. I enjoyed them. I actually did the physical Twitter like button. Now, I wasn't thinking about his political views. I wasn't aware that by hitting that I would somehow endorse everything he's ever said. So then people naturally bring up, like, well, what if someone's a neo-Nazi? Like, would you go to a restaurant of someone where the owner is anti-Semitic? Well, it all depends. Like, in my opinion, there's you can separate the art from the artist up to a certain extent. You can separate what someone does from some elsewhere versus their actual content. There's a certain line there, and it's a gray area element. I don't know exactly where to draw the line, but we can take, for my assumption, I would say, like, you got to think about the actual physical impact that this has on the world. So let's say I buy the products of something, like I buy products, and it turns out that the person uses their profits from that product they created, and they use that profit to fund some pretty awful stuff. Like, I don't know what it is, whether it be like the Daily Stormer, maybe. Let's say they donate to the Daily Stormer. I don't know. Let's say they donate to like they fund some Antifa organizations. They buy Antifa merchandise. I don't know. Whatever. That's something you can certainly keep in mind, that hey, by producing or by funding this, you are funding the something else. By paying for something, you're funding wealth going somewhere else. So like socialist magazines, for example, I will no doubt to like I try to keep an open mind as best as I can. I pay for or I don't pay for, sorry, I look for like all kinds of political views that I disagree with, even the stuff that I find absolutely horrible. Like, again, a socialist magazine, if it's free online, I'll read it just to get a different opinion, but I would never ever pay for it because I don't want my money going to that socialist organization. Like, that is, I don't want their views being spread because I know that by paying for it, their views will be spread. And really, it's just I only do it to know the enemies. And that's where I draw the line. Like, I would never pay for something like that. However, you got to remember what this guy's doing here. This is on the complete opposite direction, where it's not like this guy has, for one, the guy doesn't even have that many, like, doesn't actually have any radical views. Like, the guy doesn't seem to be an extremist by any stretch. And if he is an extremist, I don't think it matters, because it's so hard to tell whether he's an extremist or not, that he's clearly not really having much influence in the political realm in something you disagree with, if it's not even clear what his views are. So remember, this is his personal account, and he posted this last year, and he seems to be pro-life. It's not even he was like, I will make abortion illegal. It was just like, yeah, he's pro-life. And he didn't even really, like, he was really just saying, like, I'm thankful for the fact that my girlfriend was allowed to be alive, which I fail to see how this is any kind of radical opinion. This is a regular thing. And I will say, I'm fully willing to say maybe it's my own biases. I am pro-life. I'm not, like, super radically pro-life, and this, I don't even know what that means, to be honest. I'm pro-life. I'll say that much. I'm not going to defend it. I'm not going to try to appeal as a centrist. I am pro-life. And I will admit that, to me, this does not seem like a radical view, but I think to anyone that is pro-choice, like, when I look at someone that's pro-choice, I don't see them as insane people that need to be punished. Like, if this guy had turned out to be pro-choice, I would have been like, okay, whatever. Like, he posted one tweet that said he was pro-choice, and that doesn't matter to me much. It's, the only people I consider truly radical are the, like, shout your abortion people that are like, yeah, I had 6 abortions and I'm proud of every one. That's where it gets too far for me, when you're actually proud of such an act. But I found that most pro-choice people are like, yeah, I'm not really a fan of it, but it's something that I don't believe I have the right to block or anything like that. And that, as much as I disagree with that opinion, I can respect. But we can say this is not some kind of radical view here that this guy has. And notice that Yeah, like to go after him for this is, I think, an insane intolerance. Because you might say, like, sure, we can't be tolerant of intolerant views, and as I even said, I'm not going to fund a socialist magazine because I know that money is going to fund the spread of socialism, and I disagree with that. However, you got to remember that whether you like the Strange Planet comics or not, what's going to happen here? Like, okay, you fund the Strange Planet comics. Are you funding pro-life organizations? I mean, and I even say fund. It's not even like, if you want to donate to the guy, that's a whole different thing. But they're just talking about enjoying the Strange Planet comics. If you enjoy what this guy put out, which I do, then are you somehow like endorsing pro-life politics? I don't see how that is the case. Because remember, it's not like he's funding this stuff, and if he is, he hasn't made it clear. So you have to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. He's clearly not too he's truly not that concerned about it that he's posting about it regularly, because I went through his Twitter feed enough to where I went through the last like 2-3 weeks or so, and it's all comics, with the exception of 2 tweets. The most recent one, or one that he actually pinned, which was what he put out like I think a day or 2 after the article came out, which is to say, my wife Taylor and I have private beliefs as they pertain to our Christian faith. We also believe separation of church and state is crucial to our nation flourishing. Our votes go toward the Democratic Party. Additionally, we are troubled by what the Republican Party has become and do not want to be associated with it. So it turns out the guy is left-leaning. He's a registered Democrat, I imagine. He says he votes Democrat. He probably voted for Hillary, not Trump. And to be honest, that's not going to stop me from liking the comics. Like, again, I don't care. As much as I disagree with this guy did, and I'm not a fan of what he did, again, like, that's not enough to make me completely separate. Like, that's not enough to ruin his content for me. I think that's fine. And he even says we are troubled by what the Republican Party has become. I'm troubled by what the Republican Party has become, but perhaps in a different way that he is. I'm concerned about the lack of really like the lack of small government principles. But I think he seems to have fallen for the whole, oh my God, they're far right kind of stuff. That's what it seems. And to be honest, it's not going to stop me from, if I see his comic in my feed, I'll like it. Like, that, I don't see why that is an issue worthy of concern. Because remember here that, okay, like, if we're going to talk about pure pragmatism here, if we're going to talk about being pragmatic, you got to remember that he's going to see something here. He's going to see, he's left-wing. He's left-wing enough to be concerned that the Republican Party has become a terrible thing. He's that left-wing. But it seems that the left wing is the one that is saying, stop liking his comics. Stop. Like, this guy has terrible views. Let go. And I think really what you have to do is, you don't have to like him. You don't have to appreciate him. I think you pretty much just have to say, if you like his comics, say, hey, I think you're funny. If you don't like his comics, don't follow him. That's about it. Like, I think really the best thing you can do if you're really concerned about his views, if you're really concerned about winning people over to your side, you got to be nice. You got to be, that doesn't mean you have to send him nice messages or anything, but basically don't be a jerk. Because I've seen in the comments section where people that are clearly on the right have gone and say, oh, don't sell out, dude, you're selling out. Like, how dare you sell out? And I'll admit those were a minority of comments, and I saw a lot of people just saying, like, hey, whatever you believe, I like your comics, keep up the good work. I think that second approach is the way to go. Because remember that whether we like it or not, a lot of our political opinions aren't necessarily based off facts and logic, but a lot of it is based off of personal experiences. So if you meet, as we can see, a lot of people were pushed right, not because of actual right-wing opinions, but just because the right was more tolerant, just like more centrist politics than the left was at the moment. And I think that's just something to keep in mind, that really, you don't have to like endorse the guy, you don't have to say he's great, you don't have to promote his work. But if you're someone that's really concerned about, if you're someone that's trying to win over people to your side, what you can do is just say, like, hey, I enjoy your comics, enjoy. Because remember that at the moment, it's the right wing that is saying, hey, I enjoy your comics, and it's the left wing, rather the far left, that is going after him and saying, I don't like this guy's stuff. He posted something 2 years ago, and it's a rather, like, it's a controversial opinion, but remember that it's not like it's a radical opinion. It's not an extremist opinion. It's just the people going after him are so extreme that they think a standard, like, pro-life position is apparently pretty radical to them. But I think it's just something to keep in mind, that you can separate the art from the artist. I know this guy is a Democrat, and I'll like his posts because I know I'm not exactly funding anything. Like, I think I enjoy the guy's work. I'm judging the guy's work based on his work. I went back. He did post another like anti-Trump post a day after the article came out, which, again, I don't know if that was just him trying to show, guys, look how progressive I am, or if he was if that was actually what he believed and it just happened to be after that article. I'm not entirely sure. But it doesn't bug me that much. I'll judge that tweet negatively. I'll say that's a dumb tweet, but it's a tweet. Remember that if it does turn out that, again, I can't say this because I'm not a regular viewer of his content. I looked it up, thought it was good. But if it turns out that the guy is taking all of his money from the comics and using it to fund like a radical left organization, then okay, then I can say I don't blame you for stepping back. I don't blame you for stepping away from his stuff because you don't want to contribute to that. But we're talking about the guy just has an opinion. We don't, like, the guy's not an activist. The guy's not any kind of, like, he's not engaged in politics. He's just some dude with political opinions, and that's fine. That's totally fine. If you want to engage in politics, then that's where you've entered the arena. But if you're just some dude with some opinions, and you're like, hey, this is my opinion, it's not like he's trying to fund organizations or anything, or he's starting an organization, or he's running for office or anything. He's just making some comics, and he put his opinion out once. And then, as I said, I went back through his feed. He had 2 political posts from the last like 3 weeks or so. One was this, and the other one was his thing on just a standard anti-Trump thing. Which, again, it's like my opinions are rather radical. If I were to only follow people that agree with me 100%, things would be pretty bad. But I think I made my point. We'll go back to the article if I hadn't finished it. When looking at Pyle's personal Instagram, though, it's clear that we shouldn't have been surprised he has such conservative views. Again, they say such conservative views. I don't even know if he's a conservative. It's just like, I know left-wing pro-life people. I know right-wing pro-choice people. It's not even that radical of a view. Like, if the guy was coming out and complaining about the Jews, then at that point it'd be like, okay, I'd still kind of separate the art from the artist, because as long as he doesn't put that view into his politics, or as long as he doesn't put that view into his art, I'm still fine enjoying the art. But at that point, it's like, sure, I can see that as a much bigger thing, but it's not even that radical view. It's just, hey, the guy's pro-life, and it's not even like he's radically pro. It just seems like he's pro-life. Big deal. The first line in his bio is, "I follow Jesus," which should clue you in about his religious leanings. Again, they act as if that's a bad thing, and really, it's like I'm not like a super religious person, but I have nothing against people that are Christian. It's like, okay, like, if anything, to me that's a positive. Like, good. Though you may not have followed Pyle's account, you've no doubt seen his drawings reposted by others on social media and maybe even shared some yourself. Finding out about Pyle's problematic views serves as a needed warning to make sure the content that you're sharing was created by someone who views you as deserving of autonomy over your own body. Again, that's where they kind of make things really dramatic. Like, every extremist does this. Even like libertarians do it, and I say that as a libertarian. Like, people on the left, people on the right, they always over-dramatize things, where it's like, oh my god, this person is denying your bodily autonomy. It's like, do you really think that's what's going through his mind? Like, do you really think that's what he actually thinks? He's like, yes, this woman has control over, this woman, I want to take control of her body in some way. No, that's not what he's thinking. Sure, that's the actual impact, but you gotta at least address the argument. Like, this is what he believes in. And honestly, once you frame it in what he believes, it's like, okay, I can respect the logic behind that view. Like, it's just the dramatizing of it that bugs me. It's yeah. But anyway, I think that covers it pretty much. Separate the art from the artist. If you disagree with me, let you know why. I think I've made it pretty clear that, okay, like, that I understand the logic of if someone does some pretty awful stuff and you don't want to fund that, fine. But this is as far away as you can get. Literally, like, someone posted a political opinion that they, like, 2 years ago, and doesn't seem to be tied to politics at all in any other way besides the occasional tweet, and now he's being attacked. So I'd say, like, if you're not entirely upset by what this dude said, which I don't think you should be, like, I don't think you should be boycotting. I mean, I understand you have that right. Like, there's nothing truly immoral going on here that, hey, like, they have the right to boycott him. But I think it's just be polite, be nice. It's like, you're not going to win people over that way. If anything, I think this thing will push the guy further to the right. And if you're someone that is, if you consider yourself right-wing, instead of yelling at this guy for selling out and trying to appease the left, just it's kind of like a cause and effect thing. Like, if trying to bow down and apologize to the left is so bad, which I think it is, the guy will find that out on his own. That's pretty much it. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.